He just can't give her anything else anymore. He served his purpose. His purpose is over, and they're no longer aligned in purpose. So it's for her, it's time to move on.
Does have somebody else. It will be some kind of older, really rich man.
Tycoon.
Well, an Arab prince.
All
my life, and then Oprah Winfrey had met them once. She was a guest. The Clooneys, the guests. I mean, never met them before, but they were the guests. And, I thought to myself, it's all showbiz.
A royal moment plays out live on air, and the host doesn't hold anything back. I know for a fact there have been meetings with billionaires in Los Angeles. Meetings, not parties, not red carpets. Meetings. That statement immediately gets everyone's attention and changes the mood in the room. Sitting there listening to every word is the woman who wrote Prince Harry's biography. She spent 2 years getting to know him, and her writing about him has generally been positive. Even so, she doesn't push back against anything the host says. Instead, her response makes the whole discussion sound even more unexpected. Angela Levin claims that Meghan spent a long time trying to build connections with extremely wealthy men.
Obviously, she can say, well, look, I'm needing professional investment or all of that type of thing. But Burrell's suggestion and your suggestion seems to be also if something romantic presented itself.
She says she does not know whether those people were not interested in Meghan or whether Meghan was not interested in them. According to Levin, she believes Meghan remains with Harry because, in her opinion, she has not found the right person yet. The wording is not that she is still in love with him, but that she is still hanging on. That choice of words jumps out right away. Princess Diana's former butler, Paul Burrell, previously shared a similar opinion during a television interview. Burrell worked for Princess Diana for 10 years, and believes he understands how life behind palace walls can look very different from what the public sees.
She will take her royal kids, who can still go by prince and princess, and find the billionaire, like you say, who actually will just keep her in the manner to which she'd like to become accustomed.
He claimed that Meghan would not stay satisfied for long, and suggested that, in his opinion, her next move could be towards someone who is a billionaire. Then another royal correspondent raised the stakes on the same programme. He claimed that Meghan is always thinking about the next step and is constantly planning for the future. According to him, that long-term strategy also includes the person she chooses to be with. In his view, even her husband is treated like another item on a checklist. That leads to the big question everyone is asking. Why is all of this coming up now?
She doesn't want a pauper. She doesn't want another pauper, Angela, like Harry. He's not rich enough for her, okay?
Look at where things stand in 2026. During a podcast interview, Harry was asked a simple question about what he does for a living. He paused for a moment, mentioned being a duke, then referred to himself as a Prince of England before struggling to give another answer. At 41 years old, that awkward exchange quickly became a major talking point. Reports say he received around $50,000 for speaking at a property conference.
It gets trickier because these billionaires can sense one thing. When you're not looking for a partner, you're looking for a solution.
Yet when he and Meghan first moved to California, there were claims that he could earn close to $1 million for a single appearance. That sharp difference is exactly what many commentators continue to point out. As for the royal family, reports continue to describe the relationship as strained. According to those claims, the king does not want him to return. Similar reports suggest the Queen shares that view, while William and Catherine are also said to have little interest in welcoming him back into the royal fold.
I think she's been after people who are extraordinarily rich for quite a long time now, and I don't know whether they're not interested in her or she hasn't fancied them, but she's still hanging on to Harry because she can't find the right person.
Ingrid Seward, who has covered the royal family for decades, summed up her opinion with one memorable quote: "Meghan has got to hang on to Harry." She said, "For he is her entree. What is she otherwise but a starlet?" Those remarks were made years ago, but some commentators now argue that circumstances have changed in a big way.
I think it won't be enough for Meghan and it won't be enough for Harry. And she will just go off and her next step is a billionaire because she's got millions. So why not step up to a billionaire? And why not go for politics? Why not become governor of California?
According to that perspective, the value once linked to Harry's royal status is no longer what it used to be. They point to moments like the podcast interview, where he appeared to struggle when explaining what he does for a living. Because of that, the question these commentators keep asking is simple: what happens next, and what move follows after that? To understand where this story could end, some commentators say you first have to look at how it supposedly began.
He is aimless. He doesn't know what he's going to do. I always see him like a kind of well-trained racehorse in the way that he doesn't know what to do outside the tracks, and Montecito is very much outside the track.
According to this version of events, it was not driven by love at the start. Instead, they claim it began with a long-term plan that was already taking shape before Harry had ever heard Meghan's name. Then she arrived in London and, according to those accounts, everything started to unfold. These are not presented as established facts, but as claims made by people who say they knew her during that time. A panel of royal commentators revisited that early timeline this year, and the first name they mentioned was footballer Ashley Cole.
Harry came from this very busy world of the royal family with lots to do. Even in his spare time, he could play polo and do whatever he wanted. He sat in Montecito, twiddling his thumbs, thinking, what do I do next? What is my role? Where is my work?
They claimed he was someone Meghan was interested in meeting after arriving in London, well before Prince Harry entered the picture. Those claims have remained part of the wider public debate, even though different people have interpreted them in different ways. The story then moves to September 2015. At around 1 in the morning, Piers Morgan says he received an unexpected message. Well, hello there, thanks for the follow. Big fan of yours.
That ridiculous story about how they first met. The whole thing was a tissue of inaccuracies, to be polite, because, of course, I got the real story that he got a blind date and was called up and all that. And this is the other thing, which is one of the many, many lies she tells, that she arrived in London, full career, single girl, wasn't interested. Of course, she'd been coming to London since 2013, hunting for a man to marry. She wanted an Englishman. She was on a man.
He has said he kept a screenshot of that exchange and pointed to the timestamp as part of the timeline. After that, the story takes another turn that some commentators believe did not receive much public attention. Before she had even met Harry, another claim surfaced about something she reportedly said to her own agent. Tom Bower included the account in his book, attributing it to the person who said they heard it firsthand. I've Googled Harry. I've gone deeply into his life. Gone deeply into his life, not simply looked him up. According to that account, she had researched him in detail before they ever went on a date. Supporters and critics have interpreted that remark very differently. Some commentators argue it sounded less like a passing crush and more like careful preparation, while others disagree with that interpretation.
Her demands, this director said, were worse than any other actor he had worked with, and he had worked with true A-listers. She would demand private jets if there was not a first-class flight available.
Lady Colin Campbell, who has spent decades around royal circles, raised what she believed was the biggest question of all. Would she have been interested in Harry if Harry had not been Prince Harry? The panel let the question hang in the air, and no one gave a direct answer. Lady C also shared her opinion about how she believes Meghan approaches important relationships using a dramatic impression to explain her point. I am not giving away the milk for nothing. I demand something back, what I want, and I get exactly what I want. She delivered those words in a calm, matter-of-fact tone, making her view sound highly transactional. The conversation then shifted to another claim from Meghan's acting years that some commentators believe adds more context to the overall story.
So this is what Meghan has been doing. She's a piece of Klingon, like she clings to somebody who can get her there. So Meghan manages to befriend one person of a very popular group, and then that person introduces her to the others. And because that she's being brought in by somebody they trust, she's welcomed.
According to accounts shared by people involved in a small production in Eastern Europe, Meghan reportedly requested a private jet for the trip. The story claims the producer explained that the project's budget could not cover private air travel from London and that such a request was beyond what the production could afford. These accounts have been discussed publicly, but remain disputed. One person reportedly joked that she was acting like Beyoncé. At the time, she was still appearing on a basic cable television series, which made the story stand out even more to those who later shared it. Then the timeline moves to the 19th of May 2018. In Windsor, around 600 guests filled the chapel, while millions of viewers around the world watched the royal wedding. But some commentators say the guest list itself became one of the most talked about parts of the day. Tom Bower pointed to the list of guests and highlighted what he viewed as a striking contrast. According to his account, many of Harry's longtime friends were not invited, while several of Meghan's Hollywood connections attended instead, including Oprah Winfrey, George Clooney, and her own agents. That detail quickly became a major topic of discussion.
That Meghan was really trying to kick Jessica out of her life is a bit surprising. This was a woman whose children played a prominent role in your wedding just 2 years before. Meghan dumped her and seemingly has never spoken to her, never spoken about her. And the reason, according to reports, that Meghan wanted Jessica out of her life is quite silly, you could say.
Tina Brown, the former editor of Vanity Fair, looked at that same guest list and offered an even stronger opinion, adding another perspective to the debate surrounding the event. In her writing, Tina Brown argued those guests were not a picture of the friends Meghan had, they were a picture of the friends she wanted to get. That quote quickly sparked debate. Brown's interpretation was that the guest list reflected future ambitions just as much as existing friendships. In her view, it was a bold decision that drew almost as much attention as the royal wedding itself. Andrew Morton, who has covered the royal family since the era of Princess Diana, summed up his opinion in just a few words. He described Meghan as a networker to her fingertips, a phrase that has continued to generate discussion ever since. That is the point many commentators focus on. They argue the strategy appeared to work, pointing to what they see as a steady series of influential connections. First came a Los Angeles producer with industry contacts. Then, in 2012, Marcus Anderson, the well-known Soho House figure recognized for introducing people within elite social circles. According to this account, that connection later led to Jessica Mulroney, whose family also had prominent political ties through her father-in-law, a former Canadian Prime Minister. The timeline then moves to 2014 in Dublin.
Just so wrong to do what she's doing. She has nothing to stand on her own. You know, she doesn't have her own talent, her own way of just making it herself. I mean, my goodness, you married the prince, okay? Can you just try to do something on your own now?
Meghan, then known for her role on a basic cable television series, appeared as a counselor at the One Young World Summit, alongside figures including Kofi Annan, Bob Geldof, and Mary Robinson. Some commentators point to moments like these as part of a steady rise over the years. They connect those events and leave viewers to decide what, if anything, the overall pattern might suggest. Then comes the question many people continue to raise. If someone is said to move on from relationships once they no longer see a benefit, you might expect a long list of former connections behind them. According to this account, there are 6 examples spanning roughly 30 years, and the claim is that none of those individuals have ever even been in the same room together. Ninaki Priddy, who has said she was Meghan's best friend from the age of 2 and later a bridesmaid at her first wedding, described what she believed was a clear pattern. According to Priddy, once someone was no longer part of Meghan's life, communication could suddenly come to an end. She summed up her perspective with a quote that many people still remember. "There is Meghan before fame, and there is Meghan after fame."
And now you're just, going into the family, his dead mother now. Just is so bad. I can't understand why Harry hasn't already made a move by now, because it's only going to get worse from here. It gets worse.
That statement has remained one of the most widely discussed claims from someone who knew her early in life. Lizzie Cundy, who knew Meghan in London before her relationship with Prince Harry, shared a similar opinion. People served a purpose, she said, suggesting that once one chapter ended, it was time to move on. Millie McIntosh was even more direct, saying simply, "She cut me dead." Gina Nelthorpe-Cowan, who worked as Meghan's UK agent for 2 years, spoke from a professional point of view rather than as a friend. According to her, Meghan often seemed focused on reaching bigger opportunities. She also described another moment that, in her view, made the story even more surprising. Years later, they ended up in the same room again, but Gina Nelthorpe-Cowan says Meghan did not acknowledge her. It was managed, she claimed, suggesting the situation unfolded in a way that led Harry to come over and speak with her instead. That account quickly became another talking point. London publicist Nick Eade also shared a similar experience. He said he had introduced Meghan to influential people and helped her enter social circles she might not have reached otherwise. Later, he joked that he had received what he called the Piers Morgan treatment, and that naturally brings the story back to Piers Morgan himself. Piers Morgan has said Meghan sent him a message at around 1 in the morning.
He also initially deceived her into thinking that he was more powerful than he was. And so each of them was deceiving the other, but she deceived him into thinking they could move to America and they could compete with William and Catherine. So William and Catherine would have Britain and the Commonwealth, they would have the rest of the world, and they would be the global royal couple, which of course hasn't happened because Meghan is as incompetent as Harry is in terms of finance.
But after she met Prince Harry, he says he never heard from her again. She ghosted me, is how he describes it. That claim has become one of the most talked about parts of his version of events. At the same time, a single account does not, by itself, establish a broader pattern. For example, Nanaki Priddy supported Meghan's former husband's side during their divorce, and situations like that can happen in friendships and personal relationships. Millie McIntosh has also said there may have been other reasons behind what happened, including the possibility that it was connected to a reality show. Piers Morgan, meanwhile, has continued speaking publicly about his disagreement with Meghan for years, meaning audiences have heard his perspective many times. That is all part of the wider debate. Some commentators then point to a different detail. They note that Doria Ragland, Serena Williams, Misha Nonu, and Marcus Anderson, the Soho House figure who became part of Meghan's circle in 2012, have all remained close over the years. Supporters see that as evidence of lasting friendships, while critics draw different conclusions. Either way, it remains a detail that keeps people talking. Then the discussion shifts again. According to some commentators, after years of building connections and moving through high-profile circles, this year marked a noticeable change. They point to the Met Gala, one of the biggest nights in fashion and one of the hardest celebrity invitations to get. Their claim is straightforward. Meghan was not on the guest list. She was not attending the event, and those making this argument see that as a possible sign that her standing in Hollywood circles may be changing. According to these commentators, Anna Wintour's influence over the Met Gala makes every invitation significant. They argue that Meghan's absence became more than just missing an event, it turned into another major talking point. Ingrid Seward then offered her own explanation during a television appearance.
And the English people, I mean, I was over there when the Queen died. I flew right away when I was working at Extra and covered that whole thing. And it was, the ascension of Charles was right after it. They were almost preparing for two things at once and loved all the British folk, loved Harry. They still love Harry.
She argued that appearing at an event like the Met Gala would give Meghan added prestige and could increase her value for future opportunities. It stood out because the discussion framed a Duchess in terms more commonly used for celebrity branding and talent bookings. The argument was straightforward. According to the commentators, Meghan's outfits during public appearances often attract immediate attention, with similar styles quickly becoming popular or selling out. They argued that much of that interest is connected to her royal title. But they said that was only the beginning. The discussion then shifted to another claim involving the Met Gala's high-profile hosts, Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez Bezos. According to reports discussed by the commentators, Lauren had tried to build a friendship with Meghan several years earlier and invited her to various events. They went on to claim those efforts were not returned, and referenced reports alleging Meghan privately described Lauren as trashy. That allegation has been widely discussed, but remains disputed. According to the commentators, moments like that can leave a lasting impression. They argued Lauren later stepped back after those reported interactions, leading them to question whether an opportunity had been missed. In their view, it was an unexpected twist given the speculation surrounding Meghan's social ambitions. The conversation then expanded to other familiar names. The commentators pointed to reported distance or changing relationships involving the Kardashians, Elton John and David Furnish, the Obamas, the Clooneys, Oprah and Gwyneth Paltrow. They argued several high-profile connections appeared to cool over time. The explanation offered during the discussion was especially blunt and quickly became one of the most debated moments. The commentators argued that many major celebrities already had well-established careers and did not depend on Meghan for publicity. According to their view, once relationships became difficult or no longer offered the same benefits, those connections often faded. They suggested that public image played an important role in those changing dynamics. To support that argument, they pointed to Meghan's Netflix series. Despite its large production and reported budget, they noted that several well-known names many people expected to see did not appear. The commentators highlighted the absence of figures such as Elton John, the Obamas, the Clooneys, and Serena Williams. They argued that those missing appearances reflected what they believe is Meghan's current standing in Hollywood.
They're mad at Harry, but forgiveness will be quick and swift. It's all her. And every person I chatted with in the street, I did tons of MOS. All their bitterness is directed at Meghan.
They also compared reports of meetings with wealthy business figures in Los Angeles to claims that some high-profile social connections never developed further. As Lady C put it, Meghan never misses a chance to make a connection, a remark that has remained part of the wider debate. Another example they raised came from an incident in Jamaica years earlier. According to the story they shared, Meghan approached a group of people she had never met at a private club and introduced herself. They presented that moment as another example, supporting their overall argument. The group reportedly did not know who Meghan was at the time. According to the account, they were surprised enough by the encounter that they later contacted a friend of Lady C's to ask who she was. The reported reaction afterward was simply, "Who on earth was that?" The commentators claimed the group included several very wealthy people, which they argued made the encounter especially memorable. They also emphasized that this reportedly happened while people were on holiday, not at a summit or glamorous gala. The discussion then took another turn. Rather than portraying Harry as simply a victim, the commentators argued that he was an adult with royal status, considerable privilege, and the ability to make his own decisions. In their view, he was responsible for the choices he made. Lady C also challenged the idea that only one person had been misled. During the discussion, the host remarked, "Poor Meghan got duped, thought she was marrying a multi-billionaire and got a spare prince on an allowance. With due respect," Lady C replied before explaining her position. She argued that Meghan had long understood Harry's financial situation, while Harry also presented himself as having more influence than he ultimately did. According to Lady C, both entered the relationship with expectations that did not fully match reality. In her opinion, each misunderstood or misrepresented parts of the situation, making responsibility something they shared rather than placing it entirely on one person. The argument is that both made their own choices and had major ambitions from the very beginning. Some commentators have claimed they imagined William and Catherine representing the monarchy in Britain and across the Commonwealth, while Harry and Meghan would build a separate global royal role of their own. Critics argue those plans never reflected reality, making the outcome even more dramatic. When Lady C was asked who she believes bears responsibility for the family's public disputes, she did not give a one-sided answer. Her response was, mostly Meghan, but with Harry's connivance. She deliberately used the word connivance, arguing that Harry was an active participant, rather than someone simply carried along by events. Lady C has also repeated another point several times. In her view, a relationship like this only works when both people are chasing the same goals. She argued that Harry did not accidentally end up in the marriage, but knowingly made that choice and fully committed to it. She ended with one of her strongest remarks yet. "Never did two people more richly deserve penury," she said, referring to both Harry and Meghan. She then described them as studies in treachery, both making her opinion unmistakably clear. The discussion closed by asking where this story might end. During a panel discussion in January, several royal commentators shared their predictions. One panelist said, "You wait. She will dump him. She will drop Harry and move on and find herself somebody else, and it will be some kind of older, really rich man." According to the discussion, no one on the panel challenged that view. Another commentator argued that even after luxury homes and major business deals, it was never enough. Now, let's be clear about what this actually is. There have been no public filings, no official petition, and no confirmed legal action. What has drawn attention is that several well-known royal commentators, including Harry's biographer, Princess Diana's former butler, a royal correspondent, and Lady Colin Campbell, have expressed broadly similar opinions during the same year, even if they differ on the timing. Whether that ultimately means anything is for each viewer to decide. The discussion then moves into an even more controversial area. According to some royal commentators, the biggest tensions within the royal family were never only about Harry. They believe Meghan became the main source of disagreement. One well-known public figure summed up that opinion with the remark, "Oh boy, that wife of his." Billy Bush, who has covered the royal family for years, also claimed that William strongly disapproved of both Meghan and Harry's decisions. Angela Levin, despite being openly critical of the marriage, has continued to describe Harry as someone she believes was entrapped. That opinion remains widely debated. Lady C also explained why, in her opinion, Harry would not currently be welcomed back into the royal family. She argued that concerns centered on trust and unpredictability, claiming many people viewed him as unreliable. She also alleged that Meghan had a strong influence over his decisions, using particularly harsh language to describe that belief. During the discussion, the host added an important clarification, saying, "That is all alleged and we don't know." According to the commentators featured in the discussion, most of their criticism is directed toward Meghan, while they believe Harry could still have a path to rebuilding some family relationships. Lady C even offered direct advice, saying Harry would be well advised to get out, adding that, in her opinion, the going is still just about possible. The panel then discussed what Harry might do next. Their view was that returning to England could mean admitting that others had been right about certain decisions, something they believe he would be reluctant to do. Instead, they argued he is more likely to remain in Montecito while public debate surrounding the couple continues. The discussion ended with one final claim from the panel. They argued that Harry was never the ultimate goal, but simply one step in a much larger journey, presenting that as the key theme of their overall argument. After everything you've heard, where do you stand? Do you think Harry failed to see where things were heading, or do you believe he fully understood the situation and made his own choices? Let me know in the comments, I'd really like to hear your perspective. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, subscribe for more discussions like this, and share your thoughts below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.